From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Afternoon Edition.
Right now on the Afternoon Edition, a bit of snow on Mount Hamilton in the South Bay, and another atmospheric river is about to slam onto the coast. Thanks for being with us this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Ann Makovic, and let's get right over to meteorologist Jessica Burch, who is tracking conditions from the Virtual View studio. Jess.
Oh my goodness, it's going to be a mess as we head into the coming days. But behind me, what you see right now is our live look here at KPIX from our rooftop in San Francisco overlooking the Bay Bridge. It's clear right now, but that's not going to be the case just within the next 24 hours. Here's what we're expecting as we zoom in. You're going to see as we advance the clock throughout the next couple hours, we're starting to see those offshore showers slowly sweep in. This will happen around 5-6 o'clock just along our coast. It continues to push in into the overnight hours tonight. Just by midnight, now we're talking about light to moderate rain in the forecast, and it only intensifies more as we head into the overnight hours tonight. And by early morning hours tomorrow, if you're trying to get to work or school in those early hours, we're pretty much dealing with wet conditions on the roads, breezy conditions too, but we will catch a break just around 7:30. So long story short, this is going to be an overnight storm, at least for the first band. Heading into the afternoon hours tomorrow, we'll start to see more develop, and I'm going to break that apart coming up in just a bit and show you your rainfall totals too, because it's relatively impressive for what we've seen so far this season. Back to you, Ann.
Thank you, Jessica. New at noon, San Francisco's district attorney has now charged 2 women in connection with the crash into a parklet in San Francisco's Mission District. That happened on Sunday. 6 people were sent to the hospital. The chase started near Stonestown after officers spotted an SUV that was reported stolen out of Richmond. Well, the people in the SUV took off, eventually crashing into this parklet at 24th Street and South Van Ness. Police arrested 2 of them. The women now facing charges in connection with a stolen car and police evasion. They are set to be arraigned tomorrow. A tough new approach to homelessness in Fremont. The city council just voted to ban encampments in the city. That vote came close to midnight after a marathon city council meeting. The ordinance bans camping in public spaces, including sidewalks and near waterways. It will also now be a misdemeanor for people to aid or abet people in encampments. That was passed by a vote of 6-1.
Our public spaces belong to the entire community, and it's really not compassionate at all to cede our public spaces to a select few individuals at the expense of everybody else in the general public.
I'm the dissenting voice, as you probably can hear, because I do believe that we need to have some other compassionate ways to deal with this.
If we could,
The new homeless policy is set to take effect next month. A fentanyl state of emergency is about to go into effect in San Francisco. Mayor Daniel Lurie is going to sign his new ordinance today. It is designed to speed up the long process for getting city contracts to address homelessness and other public safety issues. This will also enable Lurie's administration to use private donations to help support the city's response to the fentanyl crisis. Chevron making some major changes to its global workforce. The nation's #2 oil producer is slashing 15 to 20% of its global workforce by the end of 2026. It is all part of a plan to cut between $2 billion and $3 billion. Earlier this year, Chevron relocated its corporate headquarters to Texas from San Ramon. We don't know yet how or if this is going to affect any Bay Area employees. We'll keep you posted. To Wall Street now, stocks down significantly after a new report showing inflation is heading in the wrong direction. Right now, the Dow is down about 200 points. It had dropped more than 300 right after that report came out. That report showing that prices increased annually by 3% in January compared to a 2.9% in December. CBS Money Watch reporter Kelly O'Grady looks at what this all means for our wallets.
Food prices are heading in the wrong direction, and eggs are one reason why. An ongoing bird flu outbreak is creating shortages and leading to some empty store shelves.
That's insane. Like, where are the eggs?
Those who can find eggs are paying much more. Prices jumped 15% in January and are up a whopping 170% since 2019. Consumers are not only seeing higher prices at the grocery store, but also at restaurants. Waffle House added a 50-cent surcharge for eggs. Lynn's restaurant outside of Minneapolis is doing the same.
We felt bad, but the only thing we could do is go to the menu, and we did a temporary surcharge of 35 cents per egg.
It remains to be seen where we are going with inflation.
CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger says rising rent and housing costs continue to drive overall inflation higher. and many economists are trying to gauge the future impact of President Trump's tariffs on imported goods.
If those tariffs stayed in place for a number of months, we would see prices go up and we would see the inflation rate rise.
All this is bad news for people looking to get a loan. With prices moving higher, the Federal Reserve is expected to leave interest rates alone at its next meeting in March. And the Fed is not likely to cut rates again until inflation starts easing.
Internationally, President Trump says negotiations to end the war in Ukraine are starting immediately. Earlier, he had a call with Russian President Vladimir Putin and has since spoken with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The conversations come one day after Russia released a school teacher from Pennsylvania, Mark Fogel. He is now back on U.S. soil. Fogel was arrested at the airport in Moscow back in 2021 for having marijuana. His family said it was for medical reasons. Mark Fogel celebrated his release at the White House, saying love and support sustained him for 3.5 years in that Russian prison.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now, knowing I had the support of my fellow Pennsylvanians, my family, my friends. It was so overwhelming. I will forever be indebted to President Trump.
President Trump said he believes Fogel's release could help play a role in advancing cooperation with Russia to end the war in Ukraine. Recent immigration policies under the Trump administration are sparking protests across the Bay Area. Demonstrators are speaking out against nationwide ICE raids and advocating for immigrant rights. And immigrant-owned businesses tell us they're already seeing the economic impacts of deportation threats. Our Veronica Macias talked with a South San Francisco florist who said that he's been seeing a drop in sales.
Hector Garcia, who immigrated to the U.S. from Guatemala for a better life, is afraid all his dreams are wilting away. Life wasn't ever all roses. However, after 10 years of working 2 jobs 7 days a week, he managed to dedicate himself to his flower business in South San Francisco, and life felt like it had bloomed. Garcia says his sales have dropped nearly 70% year over year. He says many of his clients are from immigrant families, and they haven't been coming around.
All the Latino businesses here are suffering because there is no business. People are too afraid to walk the street, people no longer come to my shop, and sales have dropped dramatically.
Garcia says his sales plummeted around the time the national crackdown on immigration began. The store's profits have already been impacted by the high inflation.
With all the problems that we are having, with the rise in prices and tariffs, everything is expensive, and we fear we are not going to have a good business on what's supposed to be one of the best seasons for us around Valentine's Day.
With his flowers used for his arrangements coming from Mexico and Colombia, Garcia says he's following the proposed tariffs on items from Mexico very closely. He fears his business won't be able to survive another price hike.
We invested everything. We're just afraid of what's going to happen. Yes, we're very afraid of what's going to happen. How is business going to survive?
Garcia holds back tears as he thinks about all the work and the sacrifice that he's put into his business. People admit to being afraid, some limiting their outings to daily errands and responsibilities, attending mass, for example.
The fear is if you leave your home, you won't come back if you're detained. Who's going to manage your responsibilities in this country? We do feel that there is a lot of fear in the community right now, but it's about food, rent, and sending money to your family and your country.
Recently, businesses in South San Francisco shut their doors, joining a campaign, A Day Without Immigrants. Garcia is hopeful it shows their buying power and vital impact on the economy.
I'm just one more immigrant, and we need to support one another. This harassment needs to stop. None of this is good for business.
Still ahead here at noon and streaming on CBS News Bay Area, BART putting its best foot forward ahead of a big weekend in San Francisco. Also ahead of the All-Star game, we're going to take you inside the brand new bar that is hoping to draw in visitors and locals alike.